Greetings from Jim, AG6IF. I'm kind of working the bugs out of the new shack here. I've got, I built a new table, and I've got all the radios where I can get to them much easier now. I want to tell you about the way I'm powering the shack here. The shack is completely powered from 12-volt batteries. I've got about, let's see, 120 is 240. And then I've got another 80, so that's 320 and 340 amp hours. So that's 320 plus that's 360, 440 amp hours all together. I've had the shack running without any power feed, any solar or power supply since noon. It is about 6:30, so 6.5 hours. Today I've got a bunch of radios on, IRLP, which you can hear in the background. Communicators Net here Sunday night, APRS. There's my IRLP radio, APRS, and I've got APRS on HF also. If you've seen some of my earlier videos, this guy here, this is all pulling off the battery system. I've got Echolink and packet radio. These are all running. I've been working some HF today. JT65, some 2-meter 440 here, and 6-meter on my 897. All this has been running all day, and I shut the power supply off. That's about noon today. Voltage is down. I've got a little voltmeter on all the batteries. The smallest battery is the easiest one to see. Probably not going to see that on the blue LED, it's so bright. This says 12.2. Oh, I also have two 40 amp hour batteries in my solar generator, which is sitting off to the side, and that's where one of my power supplies lives. It feeds the entire setup, and I could grab it and go to field day anytime, but there you go. Okay, so I'm using a MegaWatt S400. And it's a nice little switching power supply, very rugged, and there's been a lot of talk lately online about whether that's a good power supply or why it's good. So anyway, it's been off all day. The batteries are down a little bit, 12.2. It's not real low, but I'm going to fire this thing up. And down here underneath, I have I'll show you. I've got one of those KilloWatts down here, and we'll be able to see the amount of wattage that the power supply is pulling from the grid when I throw the switch here. So come over here, we're going to throw the switch. Generally it goes to 400 watts. Its rating is 400 watts. Okay, we're on. All right, voltage is going to come up. 263 right now, 265, so that's not too bad. Sometimes when I run this test, it goes right to 390, 395, right at its limit of 400 watts, and it just holds right there for as long as it takes to bring all the batteries back up. So they're going to come back up. It'll take probably take an hour for them to level out, hour, maybe hour and a half. So the power supply is just going to keep 13.5 volts where I have the set point, 13.3 actually, set point, and it'll bring all the batteries up level at 13.3. So it's a nice power delivery methodology. I use a battery in my Go box. I use an extra battery in my mobile power supply, and solar panels. You can feed the batteries a lot of different ways, but it works really well in the field, in mobile, or even here in the shack. Totally not dependent on the grid, at least for a while. Once the grid goes away, I have a lot of options. Solar power, if that's enough to keep the batteries where I want them, or I have to start up a generator, or I can even start up my mobile and plug a feed line, a power feed line, into the mobile through an Anderson power pole. A lot of ways to keep the shack going. So these two batteries are 120 amp hours each, and this is my support for my desktop here. One there, and 2 in that solar generator that I built. So there we go. Let's see, where are we at now? 255 watts coming in off the grid. So 255. That's about a little over half of what the power supply can put out. So they weren't down all that much. But anyway, that's how I'm running the shack. All on 12 volts. You can get a little booster and run your laptops. If it takes 19 volts, get a little booster, put a power pole on it. My EchoLink thin client machine runs off 12 volts. Anytime I can buy a laptop that runs off 12 volts, it's very desirable. Exactly, put power poles on the connector and off you go, no problem. I'm running the grid for the monitor, and actually I'm running the grid for my mixer. So I've got an inverter in the system. I can activate and plug in everything in that it is grid only on an inverter, but I don't run it. Normally I don't run it all the time because it just has an efficiency issue, but it works anyway. So, all right, thanks for watching. Just wanted to talk a little bit about the power feed. It's coming up a lot lately. I've got a book out on Amazon, and you can search my call sign. I added a new chapter just to talk about this power feed environment. So if you call up my Amazon, call up AG6IF, you'll find the book. So it's only a couple bucks, and you might find it helpful. All right, more nets coming on here. I've got a bunch of bands always on here. The amplifier obviously does not run on batteries. It could run on the inverter though, if I wanted to do that, but not much use in doing that probably. What else? I guess that's about it. Thanks for watching. I'm really enjoying my new shack. It's a tabletop from Home Depot, 6-footer, and a couple of pedestals I built that were intended to hold my batteries and so forth. 2 of those, one on each side, and a little kickstand in the back, made out of the half-inch pipe with those little flanges on them. And the shelf is held up the same way. Let's see if I can get a good angle. There we go.
Or during standard time, that is 0200 UTC.
Works really good. You can buy all that stuff at Home Depot. So, probably elsewhere as well. So anyway, thanks for watching. This is Jim, AG6IF, Southern California, saying 7-3.